Yes, here we go. It's the T.N.F. The night we hand over the keys to use. And it has been a couple of weeks since the last one. Apologies for last week. I was out gallivanting at the Hydro at Liam Gallagher, so missed it sadly. But anyway, we're back, and it's getting closer to Celtic being back. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot on their mind tonight and a lot of points they want to get across. I think there'll be a lot of people want to talk about, first and foremost, about the recruitment drive or lack of that there's been so far. I'm sure that'll be a major talking point. The goalkeeper situation, we know is something that David's been, honestly, I think, doing Celtic's scouting job for them basically over the last few weeks, and fair play to him because he's covered a hell of a lot of bases. But anything you want to talk about Celtic related, tonight's the night to get your points in. And because there's not as much on the agenda at present, we can get more points maybe discussed tonight as well than what we can normally get through. So remember, make sure you start all your points with a hashtag TNF. Mark, 2 nights in a row. There's not even many ex-birds of mine that managed that. So well done, mate. Good to see you.
Well, I'm the gift that keeps on giving, mate. I'll always call you back.
I
Good to
know.
see you, mate. I really enjoyed last night's wee show. I think the full series is pretty interesting. So looking forward to the next one, mate. And it was good to do it. Thanks.
Oh, brilliant fun last night, mate. No, brilliant fun. And it's been good to get to know a lot of these contributors who've been dedicating so much time in the bus, letting the passengers just get a wee bit more insight into their background, and obviously particularly the Celtic supporting background. I think that's the most important thing. And that has been great fun. We'll do all that good stuff very quickly. Like, share, buy some hair. If you want to become a Boycie Bus member, like so many have. I've not done a wee round robin in a wee while, so like 420 somewhere. Like Alex. Like Gary Brown. Like, that's it tonight because there's not that many on yet. But hey, we'll give you all a thumbs up anyway. It's £1.99 a month, but all our content remains completely free. So a big shout out to anyone who jumps on the bus just for the bants, mate, or just before the Celtic fix. Celtic chat fix, I should say. I remember head over to piesports.com, bus 1888. You get 12.5% discount when you use that code at the checkout. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers us. Remember, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and you don't miss episodes, all that sort of shit. Whatever it is, hit a bell. I'm told, something like that. But anyway, we'll get stuck right into it. But before we do, I think it'd be remiss not to sort of highlight, obviously, the sad passing that we only found out a couple of hours ago from Landry and Guillermo. We joined Celtic on loan from a French club whose name is escaping me right now. I'm sure someone in the chat will know. I want to say Nice. I could be wrong though. But Nguemo played in Mowbray's year and actually famously kept a certain Scott Brown out the team for the majority of his time at Celtic. And I think it was once Lenny took over towards the end of that season, you've seen less of Nguemo and, of course, more of Bruni. And we all know what Scott Brown went on to do. But very, very sad. 38 years old. Reportedly, it's a car accident, something like that. Just utterly tragic, Matt. Just tragic when you hear things like that of anyone, of course. And then you add to the mix, it's a player that we were watching don the hoops only 15 years ago. Just sad, mate, and it's right only just to highlight it a wee bit.
It's very sad, mate. You said 38-year-old. That's younger than me, So I harks it to his family and him. Obviously, I hope nobody else was injured in the crash either.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, when they play for Celtic, and it hits home a wee bit that these guys, you watch them play. Stuart Gray died not long ago as well, and we all remember him. It's Celtic as well. God, a young boy still at that age, and God rest him. I hope, as I say, nobody else was injured. I only found out about 10 minutes before we started, and I actually got confused with Eds and Brathwaite. So I apologise if that was the wrong Boycie.
But we nearly opened up the show by saying the only Celtic player, former Celtic who played in the World Cup final.
I don't know the current Celtic because he's still in contract. Imagine obviously, but okay, I'm another way to ask myself, what's new? You know what I mean?
I know. But yeah, RIP to Landry and Guillermo, far too young, as Pam rightfully says at 38. But yes, thoughts go out to the family and that of Landry and Guillermo. Let's get on with the show though, because that's what we do. And Mark, you know what it's like. John Kennedy gets rolled out for some bland interview, generic pish. And it was the normal fare. I think it'd be fair to say from what you would expect. Not saying too much. They're working on targets in the background. How that turns some fans into saying expect business within a week or 2 weeks. We might, by the way. That's certainly I'm not getting it from what I'm hearing from JK. It just sounds to me like we're just getting the usual sort of rhetoric that is wishy-washy, an interview for the sake of doing an interview, touching base with the fans again, sort of thing. Which, by the way, is good that they do that sort of thing. But we didn't learn anything from it at all, mate.
No, we did not, but I must say, I like his tracksuit. That impressed me more than his words.
Oof.
It's a good tracksuit. I found them quite monotone at the best of times. I've got a cheek, to be honest. I remember I do a face cunt. But I agree with you. I didn't see much in it that got me off my chair. But you do see the same old, it's the stuff happening the next week or so. I don't know where they grab these numbers. I think they just clutch something in there. Somebody starts a rumour, and before you know it, we're all galloping with it. What it did mention, Eden Bernardo's still in the works, and we all knew that anyway, I suppose. And the keeper, that's ongoing. We all knew that anyway. So the total was nothing new, boys, unless I missed something.
Yeah, it was nothing new, mate. It was nothing new at all. Let's talk about, though, the fact he's mentioned I love that. The thumbs are appearing on the screen again, mate. I actually thought you were looking right at it there, but you went to take a drink of water. It looked like you were looking at the wee
it's
thumb right beside you. That's quite funny.
I've got a green dot. I stare at to look at you, but that's a strange like now. I don't know. Anyway.
I appreciate it all the same, mate. But yeah, when he mentions the two former loanees, Celtic are obviously looking still into whether they're going to be able to get those guys in on a permanent basis. And do you know what? I'm not panicking about it. I remember the day, it used to be anyway. I'm not sure now. I think I'm still right. The majority of contract end dates is the 30th of June. So really you don't tend to get much transfer action, particularly when there's an international tournament on this stage in the summer. I know a lot of us would like Celtic to do their business as early as possible, but I said this last summer, not because I've got faith that this will be the case this year, because I was proven wrong. Celtic won't be able to get that level of player at the beginning of the window that we're looking for. In terms of the two loan players, yeah, you'd like to think we've got the head start on that. What's your thoughts? Because amazingly, they've both now developed stories where it looks like money could be the issue again, Mark. And for both. Bernardo apparently earns 20,000, I think it was euros, they said, a week, but it's after tax. When is what they make after tax ever been a phrase that's been flung about for wages before when we talk about footballers? It's anything to try and dress up how much he's actually on and make it sound all the more, that's going to be tricky to match that. Adam Ida's issue apparently will be that they've got a new manager, and because there was not, of course, a first option on Ida, such was the nature of his short-term emergency, almost, if you like, win the title loan, winners the title sort of loan nature, that they can obviously pick the price now, and I would imagine it would have went up. I would imagine any new manager at Norwich as well, worth their salt, would be fancying a look at the guy who won the cup final with his goal. Not just that, then in the league, influenced outcomes massively with big goals, crucial moments. I think he'll be wanting to look at him first, and if anything, I think that spell he will want to use to. He'll want to use the summer spell. My buzzer's going. Give me 2 seconds, mate. I'll be back. Crack on.
That's your pizza ready. And all Russell mentioned there about the players, Bernardo and Ida. I think for me, it's not about whether we want him to sign or not. It's if the manager wants him. If Rodgers has said to the scouting team, right, go and get this finished, I want these players back in by the start of the season, and the club don't get it over the line because of money, that just shows you where we are as a mindset within the club. 20 grand after tax, God's sake, I've never seen that in my life. Just say he's on 25 grand or whatever. And since when is that a big figure? If he's the guy that's supposed to be replacing Matt O'Reilly, who's going to go for 20, 25 million for all we know, Is 20, 25 grand a week a deal breaker? I don't think so. And this is where we talk about quite a lot on the pod, is money seems to be the scary factor for the board and some of your fans. The scary factor should be us no buying players that are good enough to wear the jersey. I personally don't think that Bernardo's going to get Celtic to the next level. I wouldn't go breaking my back to sign him. But my worry is if Rodgers wants him and we don't sign him, then it's no good for that relationship between Rodgers and the board. That's when things start to go stinky again. Now, we've not said that's happened, but if Rodgers has come out and told the board that he wants Bernardo and we don't get him because of money issues, I mean, what more could he do as a manager other than win the league, guarantee group stage football in the Champions League, fill the coffers full of millions of pounds? What more can he do to do his end of the bargain without Celtic fulfilling the end of the bargain that he expects, and that's to produce the goods to get the best team on the park? £20 million or £25 million for Matt Bailey covers Bernardo's wages 10 times over. I don't understand the snagging. I'm all for good business, but I'm not for Celtic fucking our managers about. What sort of happened the last time with Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's not for it to be messed about. And we saw in January there that there was players put to him and Rodgers just batted them off, saying, look, no, I don't want him. You've already gave me 9 players in the summertime that weren't good enough. Don't give me another 3 or 4. I mean, we saw a window, I think the 2 players that came in, Kuhn made a small impact, but Ida made a massive title winning impact. I mean, he was a deciding factor. Rodgers even said it himself. He was a catapult to Celtic win the league. And whether I want him or you want him, Boycie, the concern for us just now is if they've been targeted by the manager as somebody he wants at the training camp in America or the first game of the season in the squad, and they don't arrive due to money issues, does that concern you?
Does it concern me? Concerns a strange word when it's the expected mark, because it would concern me more if it was more of a I thought that would have been done by now, where the faith levels I've got in them getting these things done aren't they just don't exist. Interesting when you talk about Matt O'Reilly potential sale. I mean, I reckon, quote me on it if you want. I think £20 million plus some incentives.
Yeah.
Matt O'Reilly goes, yeah, I don't think it'll be 30. I think it'd be 20 plus incentives. You know what I mean? Like the usual, like win a European Cup, mate. Do you know what I mean? Score a hat-trick in the Champions League final. Something like that. Yeah, we'll get another £5 million. But what I would say is, if it's 20 million, 25 million, like you said, I think if Celtic spent all of that in one summer, it would look ambitious for us, and that would mean that the nest egg they've got isn't actually even touched. The hold-ups when it comes to the financial side for Ida, I don't think the fee they can be too shocked at and too surprised at in modern football. He's an Irish international. He's bagged massive goals for us already. He plays in a cash-rich league, and that is what the English Championship is, whether people like it or whether they don't. Second tier of England floats about with money in the transfer market that we can only dream of. And therefore, they are absolutely entitled to say, we think this guy is worth X. And then it's over to Celtic, whether they think that as well. And of course, the manager forcing said issue. It might be that Norwich have said, look, we're not saying we won't sell him, but we want a look. And that means you forget New York or whatever the pre-seasoning is, because the pre-season is coming to us because we own his contract.
Yeah.
The players are ours, and we want that first look. Then, if you're still interested by then, haven't moved on, if we decide he's not someone that's going to take us or our new manager forward, going into the new season, then we'll discuss what fees available. My hunch on it is that the fee Celtic would be willing to pay for him would be probably up to your 7 million, 8 million mark. But I don't think that'll be a sticking point. I think a sticking point really will be for Ida is sadly that a new manager is going to want to look at what Adam Ida can bring to his team before he offloads him, unless you had Adam Ida really rocking the boat. And we were talking about Mark Viduka last night, for example, judging. I mean, if we seen Adamida then go into that sort of mode where he's not wanting to do pre-season or not, he just wants to come to Celtic, whilst we might lap it up at the time, I'd be making a mental note of that sort of behaviour and going, that can come back and bite you on the arse as well and go the other way. So I'm quite relaxed about that one. The one with Bernardo.
I'm not too Boycie. Sorry. I meant more that if they didn't come eventually, and the deciding factor was money, rather than these factors, would that concern you? Rather, I think the time. I think you're right, because I think Bernardo might happen today or it might happen next week. But Ida has got to be a longer one, because he will want to be seen by the manager. I think that's fair, because they've got a new manager now, and he's probably twice the player than what he was last summer.
I think so.
Rodgers.
Oh, I think so. I think Rodgers improves players. We spoke about this last night. The list of players that he's improved in his 2 spells at Celtic, and not only that. See, when you score in the environments that he has at Ibrox, at Hampden against Rangers, in cup finals, these things make you a better player. You come back ready for pre-season, going, oh, give me a bit of that again, or whatever the challenges you might have in front of Norwich. I think he'll be almost. He's in a no-lose situation for me right now, Adamida. I think there'll be a list of suitors as well. We need to also not expect it just to be Celtic who took note of what he did in a Celtic shirt for 5 months. I think other clubs will, and I think we need to respect the fact that the challenge of the Championship, and Norwich are always going to be a side involved in playoff and promotion battles. They're one of those sort of yo-yo clubs, I think it'd be fair to describe them as. I mean, there's a lot at stake there, and I don't think the worst challenge for a lot of footballers out there, judges, is top-end Championship and going for that title down there to get into the riches of the Premier League. And don't forget, you learn this through open goal and stuff, where they get other guys on, they talk about what these promotion bonuses look like for a lot, Judge, and it's, even going back to, I think it was Kevin Kyle said when he was back at Sunderland, like, the bonus they got, mate, and the wage increase is like 50%. Your wages can go up and stuff just for achieving the promotion. It's a hell of a lot of there for him to walk away from, unless it is going to be you're not getting a game, and therefore, of course, he's going to want to come here. But there's a lot more to that one, and I'm in the refreshing situation with Ida, where I don't hold anything against him. He served his purpose at the very end of the day. He was signed for a 5-month period, and he fucking delivered. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no harm.
Financially, the Bernardo one. Fuck. I mean, it's about what you rate the boy at. I mean, see, for me, I think we relate it to Celtic wages, and therefore, excuse me, when you hear £20,000 mark being mentioned for a player from Benfica, it's a bit too much for a lot. But that's only because that would instantly, Judge, put him into a space where he's one of Celtic's top 5 or 6 earners. But really, is that not more damning on Celtic's wage structure as opposed to in 2024 paying a player coming from one of Europe's giants, one of the revered youth setups in Europe, and I don't know what's going on my fucking Wi-Fi now. It's doing my head in. I keep buffering. But anyway, I will plow on. But I mean, I think the £20,000 mark, it causes headaches for the fans because they think top echelon of earners, or whatever that word is, at Celtic. But really, 2024, 20 grand a week for a really hot prospect, young player coming through one of the best youth setups in Europe. It's less than the going rate.
Chump change.
So that's where I think the debate lies with Bernardo. And where do you stand on it?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, wholeheartedly. I mean, it does come down to your value in the player, and of course how much Rodgers wants him back. If the case of the matter is that we want him back, but not at all costs. We'll no deviate to a certain degree because he's a player we would like, but not a player we'd love. I understand that stance. For me, I'd rather have moved on and look for somebody else. That's just my opinion. I thought he came in, he was hit and miss, but I think it's more about when we take the player out the equation. and we just look at the circumstances, and we're in a financial situation, Boycie, where we don't want to be wasting cash or throwing money all over the place. We can gamble on the uncertainties. We can gamble the wee extra £5,000 a week, knowing fine well that it's offset by an 8-game Champions League, by the £100 million buffer in the bank, by the 4, 5, 6 kit deals, kit launches we're going to have this season. You can imagine, and there comes a time where you've got to just eventually just take that step. You know what I mean? Just take that step and just go for it, because we can't keep on going to the same well and hoping we dig out a gem every now and again, boys. So we're going to have to push the boat out a wee bit now. And if we can't do it with £100 million in the bank, and that sounds like a figure we just throw out there. We know for a fact, we've seen it in the balance sheet. We've seen it. You can't hide it.
What was it? There was 70, wasn't there? It was 70 last time, wasn't there? And then you're taking your Champions League riches, a potential sale of Matt O'Reilly, but the Champions League one's set in stone. I mean, you're going to get
and Frimpong probably is going to go to Man U. That's probably another £3 or £4 million for nothing. And we mentioned last night roughly 1.8 million on the European football and the Giakoumakis deal. Boys, that's a £20,000 a week player for 2 years' wages, nearly free cash. You know, they must have been something about getting £40,000 a day. If £40,000 a day, 10 days before the Euro started and 1 day after it finished. Yeah. It's a lot of money, you know what I mean? And
it is.
And it's free cash as far as I'm concerned, you know what I mean? And I still don't understand why money comes into it. When we're discussing players, I think it should only go to the financial director's door when it comes to money. We as a fan base are debating the virtues of signing this player or that player, and can we know, is it worth it? I don't think that matters, mate. All right, we need to discuss it because we're talking about that issue just now, but I think it's factored in. Every time Celtic sign a player, the price tag is factored into every single conversation on Twitter with your pals. It always seems to be the main topic of conversation.
That's conditioning.
It's conditioning.
That is conditioning that you're watching live in front of you. You're watching it. This is the byproduct of it. Of course it is.
I had a conversation yesterday with a boy in my work. I told you, a season ticket holder. He goes to away matches in Europe, everything. And he mentioned Barkas when I was talking about buying a keeper. And I went, why mention Barkas? Why not mention Neil Lennon or Thompson or Sutton or Stubbs? Or the vast majority of times Celtic have pushed the boat out. It's been great business for the club. You can think of Yeti, Barkas, Raphael, Shite. And they're probably the only three that you can think of. I mean, I know it was £5 million for Brikovic, but he was a player. Brikovic scored 2 Ibrox.
He was a proper player, mate.
He was a proper player. He felt like with the fans. Remember, he was, of course, we know the history.
Hartson was joining as well, eh?
Aye, and he got to fuck before he got up in the Chevy Chase. But I just think, you know, it's my conditioned, and it's the best way of putting it. I think you say Celtic were interested in a player just now. I think one of the first things Sunday would ask you was how much was he? You know what I mean? And
yes, so I agree.
And it's like, fuck me, man. How much money do you want us to have? And it's constant. We done a pod 2 weeks ago, and somebody says, "Oh, do you want to go down the Rangers route?" And we were talking about pushing. And you're like, no, just spend a quarter of what you've got. Spend even a tenth of what you've got. Don't spend it all and then tap your granny to buy more.
Who would advocate that? Who in their right mind would be suggesting that? So it's such a stupid argument. That's where I get wound up the most by that, because what do you think spending more from Celtic means? That they jump up from £2 million players to £200 million players. I mean, what the fuck? The amount of middle road that there is that Celtic refuse to go on, the massive gap between what Celtic spend and what they could realistically afford is massive and getting bigger every summer. So don't be fooled by all that crap. Don't be silly and compare it to anyone.
Well, I think
do anything like that will happen to Rangers either.
You tell me a club we could quadruple or times 5 our biggest outlay in one player. We could spend £40 million a player and it wouldn't even touch the bank. We wouldn't do it. You tell me a club in Europe that could quadruple their highest ever transfer and not even touch the bank. That would be spare cash. There's no another club in the world that's in a situation like Celtic, whereas we could spend a quarter of our cash reserves and blow this league away. We could spend, and there's no Man City aren't even in a situation where they could spend that. Celtic are in a situation where we could spend whatever we wanted to, because we can't buy £40 million players. I'm not suggesting that we do it. Although if one popped up, we could do it, Boycie. We could, and we'll get.
Did Celtic have, for example, let's think of an example, when Celtic would have signed Sutton for £6 million, right? How much did they have in the bank at that time? And that's what Charles wants to know, because as far as Charles is concerned, not about Sutton, but he's saying we should be spending 60% of what's in the bank every year, not 10%. I mean, Charles, I think people think this sounds crazy now. Celtic used to sign players for more than what they do now when they had as little as £10 million in the bank, £8 million in the bank, and we could sign £4 million players. Do you know what that is? It's called making sure the club isn't going into crazy debts, but it's putting on the best product on the park. And that's what we're looking for here. And I think we need to be realistic. We're not, as you rightly say, we're not going to be getting £40 million players or anything like this. But Celtic wanted to spend £40 million and not sell O'Reilly. Guess what? We'd have over 60 million still sitting in the bank, and we'd be a Scottish club with the highest cash reserve in Scottish football history and some of the best cash reserves you would expect for anyone in a size of league with the TV revenue that we have, and the season tickets, obviously, that we've got help that, as do the player trading model that they've used, but it's detrimental to the team in Europe, but boost balance sheets. And we have to start looking more ambitious than what we are. But I want to get to the chat because there's
one thing just on that point. We signed a 7-year deal with Umbro in 1994 for £8 million. See the following year we spent £5 million on Alan Stubbs.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
like a massive outlay, Boycie, isn't it? And that's under Fergus McCann, who was frugal.
He was the tight one. He was the one that was tight, apparently. Okay, what is it now then? Folk applaud it now.
Aye.
They applaud it and just like the bit. I don't get it, but we and you could do shows like this forever, I think, Mark. Let's look at a couple other things. Punch is obviously reminding us that there was another £2 million bank from the sale of Haksabanovic. Hackshaw goes permanently to Malmo. He went on loan to Stoke last year. A player who, when he first came in, looked like he might have a couple of tricks up his sleeve. Looked like he actually might have a knack for a goal at first as well. Doing those sort of beautiful sort of slide rule sort of shots into the far corner, inside of the boot. There was a couple of nice finishes he did, but after that, he very much flattered to deceive. And to be honest with you, he's one of those strange players, Mark, that see when he started games, it never worked. He'd come off the bench and sometimes have an impact, and it catches your eye. And because it catches your eye, you petition for him to get more of a run. But when he started games, to me, it didn't particularly work. He had a good nickname, Hacksaw. I enjoyed it on the bus a couple of years ago. And I remember us all sort of referring to him as that. But on the whole, I don't know what Celtic's outlay on him would have been, because he came for Ruben Kazan, I'm sure, at the time, the same club as Starfelt. But I'm sure he did contractual things going on and all that. He'd been training in Scandinavia before, like even whilst contracted to Ruben Kazan. So I think the rumoured fee, Plunge is saying 2 million, I'd say 1.5 million. Let's not split hairs on it. It'll be roughly about, there or thereabouts. If that is the case, then as much as we're all talking about these fees being buttons, I don't think it's the worst business in the world. He was never going to get a look in at Celtic, and he clearly didn't have a great year down at Stoke either.
No, I think you're right, boys. I don't think they tried to re-sign him. I think that says it all. I think we made a bit of profit on that guy, which is hilarious. Same as it all. I think you're right. He was getting game time, and then he would get a start, and he'd be going, "Oh no, you're not going to impact this game." But he was doing something every now and again, and we don't need players like that. We need somebody that's going to be consistent, especially when I think he was brought in to impact the first 11. I don't think he was brought in to sit on the bench and Guttenbone and things like that. So he's obviously let the well done, mate. He's obviously let the club doing a wee bit in terms of how he's performed, and I don't mind that. I like this. You look at Lagat Bielka. We try to get rid of him in January. Is the same. He's lasted a couple of years, maybe a year too.
Is he still here?
Yeah, we're still waiting for him to go, but it seems to me like the club's trying to cut ties with players rather than we've got all these legacy players, but there's an effort just now to get rid of some of this legacy contracts. You know what I mean? And I'm all for it because I think Haksabanovic is the type of player that might have in previous years been put out on loan again to somebody else this season. But we found a compromise and we'll get rid of him. You know what I mean? Maybe Malmo will pay it 2 or 3 years and Celtic are happy with that. You know what I mean, Boycie? So that's for me. That's the way ahead because I don't think you're going to get rid of Celtics. Celtic's deadwood.
Yeah,
it's hard to get rid of because the deadwood are on Celtic wages, and you don't go for Celtic wages upwards. You only go for Celtic wages downwards if you're deadwood, and it's hard to get rid of the players that are on 15
that's
grand
true.
and tell them to accept 9 grand, Boycie. So good business by the club, and we've got to salute them for that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on that. Very quickly, Stephen Fleming, one man not afraid to open the purse strings and he's donated £10. Really, really kind, Stephen. Thanks very much. I hope you're good. Get a point in with the hashtag T.N.F, Stephen. We'll make sure we get that read out for you as well.
Yeah.
Not that it costs anything to get the points right.
But it does. You remember the cash for questions scandal in Parliament? This is worse.
But all I'm saying is, if you do put in a tenner, I can categorically guarantee you I'll read all your comments out. Anyone who puts in a tenner for the rest of the night, and I'll do a 6-hour show.
A dial of booze voucher is accepted too.
That's who was at the door. It was actually new headphones for the pod, mate. New headphones.
What was it?
Investing in my future, mate. Investing in my bus future.
I heard you're buying a GoPro for some of the match day vlogs for next season. Is that happening? I heard a nasty rumour.
What do you mean? You don't want one of those wee mics with the big muffs on it, mate? With Boycie bus on.
I like a big muff. If you can get me one of them, I'd happily take one. Well, as long as Lana's not watching, I'd get a big muff anytime. I don't know who Mike is. I don't know the one.
Mike's big muff. You'll see me in the judge standing outside Celtic Park this year, just asking fans questions. You know what do they call it? Voice box or popping or something? Oh, fuck knows. Right. Anyway, Ian McIntosh comes in and he's saying he's still not against the signing of Dubravka. Dubravka, I think, played over 10, 15 games out for Newcastle last season? It came out of, then he ended up at Man United at some point, but he's had a lot of Premier League games over the years. Interesting with Dubravka. Ian McIntosh, he's a great shortstopper, commands his area, which we did have issues with when Hart played. I mean, I think Hart's best spell for Celtic was his last 3 or 4 months, if I'm perfectly honest. I think he was good, steady, but I thought he could have been improved on earlier, but love the guy, so I don't want to really go down that road. But now he's away. It's about who you bring in. Interestingly, when England play Slovakia on Sunday, it will be Dubravka in goals for the Slovakians. So maybe a chance for us all to get a wee bit of a closer look at that potential Celtic target. The goalkeeper one's one that's so important, Mark. Again, I don't want to sound like fucking last summer. I'm just going to condone everything the board are doing and stuff. Yeah, would I liked a goalkeeper by now? Of course I would. It's not fucking as simple as that, right? Let's be real here. It's not going to be as straightforward. And for me, in terms of position-wise, in terms of who you're replacing, in terms of just the fact that it's the goalkeeper position, which is clearly crucial, we have to get the right one. We have to get the right one. And someone who's playing in latter stages of European Championships right now, you know, coming in for, I think it'd be a similar thing like Hart, 2-year deal, maybe 1 year extension, 1 year add-on option at 35. Would you be against that if he's got about 50 to 100 caps for his country? Does it? I don't know. I think to me it's okay. I don't mind recycling it that way for the goalkeeper position. If you're getting someone who can come in and instantly get to grips with what his task is, instantly get to grips with being commanding in his box, not just in terms of goalkeeping, but direction for the defence, mate, which I think is so important. You know, being a leader. I don't really have that much against the idea of us bringing in sort of veteran goalkeepers who've maybe been, you know, up there at one point, maybe not played as much recently and want one final go, because we know how fit players are these days. They can do it at that age. But like I say, I mean, if it's not Dubravka, it's just important we get the right one.
Oh, definitely, aye. You're right. If we get 2 years out of a player anyway, Boycie, so whether they're 35 or 22, 2 years is probably your shelf life at Celtic, one way or another. You either sold on or you're not good enough to play. So it's probably not much of a difference if they're that age and just retire or whatever. So look at Joe Hart. If he could have been 22 and moved on by now, but he just happened to see his last 3 years out at Celtic. So no, and I think what we've seen at points last season was we had Carter Vickers available. Joe Hart was a commanding force in that back four, that back five, and we need that again, boys. I think the keeper is a key part to your defence. You know what I mean? You're not going to rely on Carter Vickers to play 50 games. Let's be honest, he's got his issues, and we're going to need somebody at the heart of that defence that's going to be speaking. I think the dressing room might miss Joe Hart as much as what the players will in the park. You know what I mean? I think he's the message he gives to the players. We need to get that back. And if he's played games in the Premier League, he's played games in the Euros, World Cups, and he's good enough, and the manager wants him, I'll not be against it. I would rather, preferably, I would rather we brought somebody mid-20s who is on an upward trajectory in football, just looking for the right next move, rather than somebody who's maybe coming down the hill a wee bit. But that's nitpicking. If we can't get the experience and reliability and youth, so you can't get the both from boys unless you sign somebody who's played 50 games or 100 games by the time they're 20. It doesn't happen very often in football. So I'm all for either option for me is good enough, boys. I just hope, and I don't mean this, I love Stevie Woods, and I think anybody, Joe Hart, loves the guy. I know he had a big hand in the Barkas deal, and he had a big hand in the Benjamin Seagrass deal. Seemingly, I read Seagrass saying there. Seagrass was saying the other day there after a match, Chris Woods asked for his phone number, and before you know what, that was it. What's that? Aye, Chris Woods. No. Well, it may have been fucking Chris Woods actually, because he went to that Celtic. He phrased that as two mistakes I've made. Stevie Woods, Chris Woods. But
that's interesting that goes on then.
So I hope he's fucking no getting today. I hope he's an excellent coach. I mean, Steve Woods. Sorry about that. Mentioning Chris Woods. Steve Woods. I think all the goalkeepers love him, especially Joe Hart. So I hope he's not doing much today. I hope it's been the scouting team that's maybe picked the goalkeeper whenever it comes.
Better with Tiger Woods, mate. But aye, when it comes to
Chris Kamara and Chris, anyway.
Anyway, I mean, when it comes to the goalkeeping thing as well, there was another obviously story that was floated about earlier on. I think David and Phil probably covered it. I'm trying to remember if they covered it. I watched that show. Yeah, they would have. But the Livakovic one at £7.5 million. Again, how much have I watched Livakovic when he made his 46 games he played his 46 games for Fenerbahce? I'll tell you, none. But I know he's Croatia's number one, and all me and the judge want is to say we've got a Croatian internationalist in the team again, because we've been pining for the Juranovic days, mate, aren't we?
Oh, man.
It's cringy. Now it would all come back to that, by the way. I mean, if Livakovic throws a couple in, nobody will care, mate, because we've got a Croatian internationalist in goal. But
that'll be the catchphrase.
But I mean, notwithstanding it, he's someone that Fenerbahce were willing to pay €8 to €9 million for last summer, and I think people are concerned they want rid. But it'll just be a case of a new manager. It's Jose Mourinho, and he goes, "I want my goalkeeper. I've decided who my goalkeeper is," and he's got that clout, and he will have those assurances when he came in that whatever the fuck you want, we'll go out and we'll do everything we can to go get it. So I wouldn't look down at Livakovic on that too much. I think again, if there's a player like that available, Mark, at a club like Fenerbahce, people get the fear, right? And I love this. Oh, well, they pay big wages. Well, yeah, they do pay big wages. They'll turn over a hell of a lot more than Celtic, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
They won't have a lot more cash reserves in the bank than Celtic, I wouldn't have thought. What
They
they do is they ambitiously spend what they make. They speculate to accumulate, and then they reinvest what punters, like you in particular, Judge, pump into Celtic, right? They reinvest that on what punters like you then go to watch. Do you know what I mean? So it's weird that people think, oh, he might be out of our price range because he's at a Fenerbahce. If he's the number one target and he's going to cost £7.5 million and he's going to be on 35 grand a week, 40 grand a week, 50 grand a week, go fucking do it. I've got no problem with that. And I hope when you talk about players, you know, maybe in their mid-20s and looking for this to be a real proper challenge, you know, I think we need definitely to be exploring options like that if there is truth in it that he might be available for transfer again, and just have the balls to go, what would it take to bring you here? What is it? Or say to Fenerbahce, what's it going to take to have a chat with him? You know, and then what's it going to take for you to want to come to Celtic? Find out what those two things are. Make an offer not too far off either. Not fucking miles away and with ginger bottles and all that shite. Go for it. Be bold. Find out. And first things first, of course, run it by the manager. Make sure the manager wants him. Because this position is so huge for the reasons I've already given, but not just that. See, when you're the manager, mate, and you've got someone like Joe Hart there, for example, you go into Ibrox, comfortable that your game plan, even if it's not going to come out, or you've got an injury list like he's had, you know, it's Lagerbielke and Welsh at the back, or whatever the combination was, or Lagerbielke and Scales at the back, you know, I feel better because I've got the guy I can really, you know, count on behind them in the goal. And I think that is a massive aspect of this decision-making process that we need to take into consideration. It's got to be someone that Brendan goes, aye, I feel confident with him. Because that will allow him then to not be overly, I don't know, cautious or defensive in his shape if we were to get an injuries as suspension list like we had so early on last season when we went to Ibrox. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is it. I mean, the key deciding factor for me is Rodgers wants him. You know what I mean? Then they discuss the money afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I think if he's out of the range, we'll have choice A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3 that the manager can pick fair or whatever. And if Rodgers is keen on these players, we need their best to bring them in, Boycie. There's no point, you know, try to haggle with £1 million or £2 million or haggle with £3-4 grand a week. It's just not worth it. We saw what happens when you mess this guy about. Celtic will only evolve in Europe 2 ways: get really lucky, really lucky, and just buy small and just pick out 5-6 gems at one time, or 2, they invest to a proper standard. I'm not meaning buying one £5 million player and dotting them in a team that's just getting by. I mean, going out and just getting the very, very best in your price range, and just go out and get them, Boycie. Just go out. I mean, I hate mentioning that mob, but can you imagine the team they would have just now with £100 million in the bank? That team they would have just now would be so far above us, we wouldn't even see them, Boycie. And my worry is, we've always got this thing where we feel guilty and we always let them back in the side door, and I don't like it. Put our foot on their necks and just squeeze as hard as we can, because we've got the ability just now to lose them for decades, for years. We could lose them completely if we want to, and we come to a fork in the road, and it's happened 3 or 4 times this century. We've came to this fork in the road, and we've always chosen the wrong path and let Rangers back in again. This is a time just to fucking strangle them to death.
I don't want to do that, do we?
We don't, Boycie. We don't, and I don't think it's because of any sympathy towards Rangers, as much as I just said that there. It's okay, this, we're so self-deprecating, you know what I mean? Like, we don't realise that our own worth in football, what we can be. We mentioned it last night. Neil showed us what Celtic can be. Whereas the board so many times have told Celtic fans what they can't be.
Yeah.
And I've read Neil Lennon a few times, and I've saw him interviewed a few times, and he can't wait to remind the fans that we can't buy £6 million players and we can't afford the extra £5,000 a week. And I was like, you've sat in too many meetings, Neil, where these folk telling you that Celtic are only worth that. The fans are only worth that extra £5 million, that extra £5,000 a week. You need to keep out that bubble one on, mate. Maybe that's why you were so comfortable in the stadium, that you kind of seen the club's path and thought it was only going to go one way. Whereas Rodgers and Ange and O'Neill saw something different. They saw a club that it's totally on the brink of being great again. And I'm not talking about winning European Cups, boys. I'm really no. But we could be a Benfica. There's no reason why we couldn't be a Benfica or an Ajax. Or look at the models you get in Belgian football, where they're bringing through every 3-4 years. There's £25 million players going out. They're going into the Euros and they're going into the Italian league. They're going into the Premiership, and there's players dotted all over the world. Celtic have got the infrastructure and the expectations as a club to produce players that are of a high standard, and we'll not spend money on players to bring in to raise the level to facilitate that. I don't think a £10 million academy or whatever it's going to cost at Barrowfield is worth its salt when the hiring process was who played for Celtic 10 years ago. You know what I mean? We've got blinkers on in every direction in this club, Boycie, we've got blinkers on. We think the model that is worked once or twice is the only model that Celtic can do. We've raised the stakes by us creating more and more money in the bank. We've raised the stakes, we've raised the expectations, and we've also raised what we can do. But the only people holding us back is the 10 guys sitting in that boardroom, and that CEO. I've said it before a million times. Nicholson / Lawwell. I hope I outlive Lawwell, because see when I don't worry about that guy at Celtic Park, we might see a glimpse of what Celtic can be, rather than being told off somebody that made a cash buffer because of look what happened to Everton, in a totally different scenario whatsoever. How that would draw up in an AGM to the Celtic fans, Boycie, I will never know. The two of them just don't.
Bizarre. I remember it. I remember it well.
And do you know what I mean? When you watch these meetings and you get the text messages and all the quotes for them, every bit of good news about the club's financial state is got an asterisk on it, and it's always, but we have to be careful, or we have to be cautiously optimistic about the future. But our future is tied up in knots. It is got a ribbon on it. It is. We went through the biggest thing to happen to football was a pandemic. Nothing will happen to football worse than that. Celtic committing the other side with a profit, Boycie.
Yeah, exactly.
We're still waiting for the rainy day, even though we survived a tsunami.
Yeah, you're spot on, mate. You're spot on. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the fixture list, of course, was decided today. I'd never get caught up on it. Never. To me, you've got to play them anyway. I think at times it's something that gets read too much. And I think it's just a case of missing the football, that we see the list and we want to read those to it. But actually today, I thought, that doesn't look right to me. And it's the timing and the day of Flag Day. Sunday, 4:30 kickoff at home to, who do I want to say it was?
Kilmarnock. Yeah, mate.
4:30 on a Sunday. I mean, you'll renew your season book, Matt. What you make of that timing for Flag Day? It's a showpiece moment of the league. Is when the reigning champions, sort of raise their flag, if you like, and where's the respect to the champions by putting them on at such a shit time? The champions could be anyone, by the way. Naturally, it'll be us most of the time. But you get my drift. This isn't a Celtic thing. This isn't a Celtic thing like, it's because it's us. But think you could deserve a bit more respect for the opening day of the next season. That you go get that either Saturday at 12:30, Sunday at 12:30 kickoff, which is going to be in the telly. So we're not going to get. We appreciate we're not going to get Saturday 3:00 kickoff for it, which would be ideal. Or am I being a wee bit fickle with it when we consider that Sunday 4 p.m. Sunday 4 p.m. That's that Dial-A-Boo's delivery driver again.
Sounds like your voice sounds like a wee bottle of something popping through there.
But or is it though when you look at Super Sunday, mate? It's been 4.5, the biggest games in England for as long as I can remember. It being on Sky, and it's never done them any harm. So are we just not used to it, or is it fair to say that one's a bit of a kick in the teeth for the 60,000 home fans that will no doubt be in attendance that day?
Well, I'm used to it. I mean, Martin Neal's debut was at 6:05, I think, on a Sunday, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That was
our televised time, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, it was a daft time back then. But 4:30 on a Sunday, we've got a large section of your fan base that travel for Ireland and England. Boycie, 4:30 on a Sunday is no good to them. They have to plan ahead as much as possible for these trips. I mean, for me, it's £7 a taxi. I'm Celtic Park's right there from my house, so for me, it's no problem. But even for me, it's a pain in the arse, a Sunday 4:30. The champions should always kick off the season, unless we've requested the date to be moved to, as you can once a season per club. You can do that. Unless we've requested that, Boycie, it's a pure fallacy. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's like I don't understand it. Why would most big leagues in Europe don't put up with this shit? You know what I mean? Sky does dictate the league schedule. I understand that, but
sure.
But we're bending there and pulling our knickers down. You know what I mean? And we're saying, do what you want to. It could have been 12:30 on a Saturday afternoon, like it was this season, the last season, or it could have been 12:30 on a Sunday. I mean, 4:30, boys, that's an arsey kick-off. That is really bad. You know what I mean? There's the trains are notoriously bad on a Sunday, and not everybody stays in Glasgow. I mean, some people go to Aberdeen, Edinburgh, or Europe, or Britain. I don't think it's fair that Celtic should be packed to 4:30. I'm a cynic. I always think that the fixture lists 80% of the time are there to suit Rangers, and Rangers play before Celtic. No matter what, if we played at 2 a.m, they'd play at 12:30. They play before us absolutely at every turn. And my dad pointed out, I know they'll not be away from Edinburgh. They're going to be based in Edinburgh. That's the furthest they'll travel in about the first 6 weeks of the season is Edinburgh. I mean, we'll be going out of the camp. You know, and it's like you can definitely see there's that computer that's supposed to be random. My fucking arse. My dad guessed Rangers fixtures today. He said,
Hearts away, though, not a great start, is it?
No, but Boycie, Celtic Hearts away is a notorious opening fixture for us. We can't get it just now because we won the league. You know what I mean? Simple as that. They can't get it to us. But we've had that right a few times. And a few times
it's happened. Give us that, Mark. Sorry to interrupt.
That was Roger's first game.
And we won the league that year.
Yeah, but see, Celtic put the game. Celtic changed that fixture. So I'm pretty sure Celtic changed the fixture. I'm almost certain of that. Or they changed. I can't remember Celtic. I'm pretty sure. But it was Andy's first game.
Fill in the case, mate.
So
yeah, and fill in the case.
I Phil will be able to tell us better. He's got a laptop there, and all he'll be able to sort that out. But even that, boys, see, the champions almost always start at home. You get your flag day. Even Dundee United, I think they'll probably be home as well because they're the championship champions. They won for their flag in front of their home fans. Probably Saturday afternoon at 3:00. Now, don't get me wrong, Celtic will probably get 10 games a season with a 3:00 in the afternoon on Saturday. And I don't think that's right either. I think the least considered people within football is the paying fans. You look at VAR, Boycie. That's not for my benefit or your benefit in the stadium. That's for Troy in America to watch and enjoy. You know what I mean? Because you're at the stadium, Boycie, you haven't got a fucking clue what's going on. That VAR is a nonsense in Scottish football.
Yeah. Well, just to stay on tangent with the fixtures.
Oh, sorry, mate. The fixtures,
Sorry.
I agree with you quickly. I agree with you as well. You've got to play them all 4 times or 3 times. Doesn't matter when. But I did genuinely think that there's certain if you've got Hibs away, Hearts away, and then Aberdeen away, then Rangers, that's manufactured to be a tough spell, in my opinion. And that happens to Celtic more often than not. And when I see that, I don't think that's happened this season, but you see that quite a lot, and I think to myself, that's no random. And no wonder folk get pissed off and dubious with this supercomputer that makes up all these Rangers bias things.
I mean, it's interesting. To play devil's advocate, I mean, my gut was it was a bit of a shit time in terms of the fixture. But with the English Premier League, I'm sure it starts a week, if not 2 weeks after ours. So it could be, just to play devil's advocate, it could be the Sky are going, look, there's our showpiece slot that we give our domestic league on a Sunday. And we're putting Celtic on it. And you're knowing it, like, because that's going to be now our main event this week. And that's the time we put on Man City, Man United, Liverpool, these big, huge fixtures. That would be our slot for those games. So whilst that league's not in action, we're putting the biggest team in Scotland on at that time. And it's quite a compelling argument, to be honest with you. And they probably would go, our league's fans are travelling quadruple, 10 times the distance that many fans of Scotland will be. I mean, when you think about like England as a country, and they seem to have got by with it okay. I'm just bringing balance to the debate. There's 2 sides to it, obviously.
No, that's a fair point, but I know I thought of that. But we're all selfish, boys. We all think how it affects us. You know what I mean?
Totally, right. And that was my gut instinct as well, was to do so. But if we're talking about home games, and that constitutes playing at your own stadium. Now, you enter an incredible phase of the banter years when we look at a wee Punch is like just getting in a wee huff in the chat. Punch, just you calm down, mate. Just,
What's he saying, mate?
He says, just get on with it, for fuck's sake. This is an embarrassing argument. Just shake your thumb, Punch. Calm down, mate. It's
fine. Arguing for a start.
And if we brought debate to it, it's the day the fixtures were released, mate.
Oh, come on, Punch. You're better than that, mate. You're far better than that.
He is. But anyway, we'll leave him to it. He's usually just sitting slagging my hair, mate. But that's what I asked people to do that at the start of the show. Now I ask them to buy it. But yeah, when it comes to playing at home, we're entering a phase of the banter years, mate, that CTV looks really, really unexpected, unprecedented in a way. Ironically, will lead to Rangers, I think, being accused of the same thing they've just demanded loads of compensation from Dundee for, if that makes sense, because these away games that are played at, these away games that are meant to be played at Ibrox, but going to be played at a different stadium, unless that stadium can match the sort of gate receipts, etc., that the clubs would get from going to Ibrox, then surely they would have a fundamental right, like Rangers did, to sort of go, well, it's your fucking fault. Like, it's your fault this fixture can't happen. You're not honouring them. You're moving the goalposts here. What can we do about it? Not only that, I think it sets up the Huns, to be honest with you, for the asterisk shit again. I think they'll be lubing up that asterisk right now, getting it all shiny, ready to stick it on the year we played 22 games, 23 games away from Ibrox, instead of the usual, what's the split normally? 19 and 19. And by the way, see, with these sort of things, I just think there's always going to be more to it. This is going to rumble on. This has been called what you call damage limitation, Mark, the initial announcement of we're not going to be able to play at our ground. It's because of the order issues and all that. You're going to say it's going to be 1 week, right? That's what you do. It's going to be 1 month, sorry. That's what you do. Doesn't mean it's the truth, but it's called containing a narrative, containing a story, keeping it So I just wonder. I just wonder if this is going to go on a wee bit longer than we think. As I say, I think it'll lead to them pulling asterisks out once they realise they're miles off it. But it also gives you an insight as to what security, what sort of level of security is this club actually operating on? What sort of level of, I mean, I know you've said this a lot, they're always a day away from being bust, apparently, according to Celtic fans. I'm not saying that, but it does look like they've tried to do things probably on the cheap, in an extremely organised fashion, and they fucked it somewhere along the line. It's a true embarrassment. If this was Celtic, mate, we'd be savaging Celtic for this right now. Let's have no airs of grace. You're a season ticket holder, mate. You'd be going fucking mental. This is a complete embarrassment. Shit show from them. It tells you they're not a club that is rocking and rolling the way they would like to kid on there, just quite as much. And obviously, these decisions that have been made, somewhere along the line, money's at the front of it. I'm not saying it's because they're going to go bust, but they're trying to do things as cost effective as possible. And it's came back and bit them on the arse. Where do you think this sort of leaves Rangers in terms of laughing stockness, in terms of, from the league's point of view, in terms of competition-wise, it doesn't look great. I think the whole thing is just totally embarrassing, man, and I get it right round them, by the way.
Well, definitely, mate. I concur, get up them. But this is in a long line of red next for them. This isn't a one-off, and it's a bit diluted because if it was a one-off catastrophe, it would come blown up. But see, because they've got a long line of pure fucking idiotic decisions. And one thing you're missing the most important thing here, Boycie.
Oh, sorry.
They won't turn this into a bad thing. This will be now dubbed as the highest ever attendance for an SPFL match. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be played at 68,000 at Murrayfield, whatever it is.
Are they playing it at Murrayfield?
Aye.
Confirmed?
At very less, because they've already got a contract in place for the Man U game. I think it's to just wait for it all to be signed up. But so they'll sell this as we sold out the third division, and now we've got the highest ever attendance in this, because the SPFL the SPL started 1999. So they'll sell this as the biggest ever. That'll be on their stadium. See on the painting, 14 this and the highest ever this. That'll be on the highest ever. That's one thing we're all missing. Wait till you see that getting churned out. They'll get the biggest attendance of the season. That'll be definitely. But boys, I think if it was Celtic, we would be raging. I actually seen on a blog, I don't know if it's true or not, that they might be charging the Rangers fans a surcharge for moving the stadium rather than giving them compensation.
If it's Murrayfield.
Aye.
Wow.
I think if it was Celtic, I would probably be demanding that they put on supporters buses for free. Anybody. That'd be my demand.
Where does it leave your season ticket wise? Because they've sold season tickets based on, like we just said there, these 19 games at home.
They can change it. They can change the terms and conditions, boys. That's part of it. They can tell you. I mean, there's certain teams throughout the season don't get 19 home matches. Some of them only get 18 as a compromise. Some of them take. You're not guaranteed your 19 home games. The bottom 6 teams sometimes don't get their 19 games, whereas a levy will maybe play at Easter Road.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, I hear you.
I think they can change terms and conditions to suit their own. And Mace fans,
it's a sting though. This is a sting because you've sold those season tickets knowing this was coming down the road. Yes, they've had a magic number. They've had a magic number of tickets to sell, Mark, and then they've went right. We can announce it now. We've managed to sell 40,000 of the season tickets, or 45,000 of them. Now we can go to print on this story. They've sat on it, mate. No two ways about it, pal.
Well, seemingly the letter they sent to the council for planning permission was only dated the 25th of June. So this just shows you that they did shit. They weren't expecting to be ready. And 25th of June was date stamped. And also look at qualifiers at Ibrox. Instead of selling 48,000 tickets, they can sell 65,000 tickets. So see that, there's a big markup there. There's a big. I mean,
I think Yeah, there needs to be though assured that it's definitely Murrayfield. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows.
Well,
but I think they've got another commitment. I'm sure they've got another game-wise that fucks it for one of those qualifiers or something, a Scotland match or something like that. Rugby, I'm positive.
I hope you're right. I'd love to see him playing at Fir Park or Celtic.
Oh, Allenville, mate. The spaghetti hat. That's what I want.
Well, they could play at Celtic Park, so they could charge them £2 million rent-free. Or maybe offer them the new Barrowlands training facilities to play in. But this is it. I mean, I remember Hearts 3 years ago. Remember they forgot to order the chairs, remember, for their stand? Remember that? They forgot to buy... How do you forget to buy the chairs? You know, I mean... Who's ordered? I got the lights. Oh, I got the stairs. Who's got the chairs? Oh, I don't know.
Well, do you know what?
That was a bit like.
I remember being in the queue at the Colonel's KFC, mate. Right?
Aye.
I swear this is the truth. Me and my mate, I could tell you, my mate called Sal. He's called Alistair. I'm on a lunch break for the office. We I'm only about 18 at the time. Worked at the Prudential. Drove down there, and I mean, fucking hell, the IQ level wasn't high on this person. Not because all KFC workers' IQs aren't high. That's not what I'm saying. But this person's wasn't. It's just went, can I have that? And we were like, all right. Why is it no chicken?
Oh, I remember the chicken scandal with KFC. Is that when it was?
No, this was just a Stirling branch, mate. Just had. It's just so. I was like, who did the stock ordering here? Buns. Have we got lettuce? Have we got mayonnaise? Tatties for chips and that. Yeah, we've got all that. Missing anything?
Can't you think it?
I can't think of fuck all. Fucking chicken, you Raj. Do you know what I mean? And she just said it so matter of fact, like she was just like, well, chicken, can't give you that. Can't give you that. And I'm like, why? She goes, need chicken. It's like, right? But you're right. I mean, who's doing the stock order when it gets to seats?
Have you seen that advert? Is it Timu? Is there some sort of app you can get? You can order for China. Timu.
Yeah.
I think they've used that for that stadium. I think they have. And by the way, no disrespect, they're doing a brilliant thing. Chat about the wheelchair access at Ibrox, and believe you me, that for me that's a priority for Celtic as well, to get more access for folk that can't be sitting.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, so they want to give me a wheelchair access, and they're going to build a proper bit for folk under shelter, and they're also going to add a couple.
Is that just so they've got someone else so they can jump on, mate? Is that not what they did?
Maybe.
And
they're going to be adding an extra couple hundred seats, so obviously they're going to make it financially. But I don't understand. This has been a fuck up since day one, Boycie, and I'm always dubious for Rangers. I think that there's an ulterior motive. I think they've looked at maybe selling an extra 20,000 tickets for these 3 or 4 or 5 matches, and thought that's right ways that we can pay for these upgrades by letting an extra 20,000 fans in. And I tell you, the interesting thing for me would be, see if we were due to play them in the first match at Ibrox, would they have swapped it run for the first match at Celtic Park? I don't think so. So I think they've timed this well, Boycie. I do think they've timed this well. I think they've known that
it's not timed well, mate.
No,
it's not timed well.
Well, I genuinely believe that I don't think they would do it if their first match was supposed to be at Ibrox against Celtic. They wouldn't give up a home match against Celtic. They just wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know what I mean? We wouldn't give up a home match against Rangers either. I just think if we were playing at home, if they were playing at home first, they would not have made that move. That, you know what I mean? I don't think they would have took a chance, Boycie. So I do think there's at least methodical a wee bit. They've definitely thought about the consequences here.
Method to their daftness, mate. Method to their daftness.
It wouldn't be surprised. It would have shocked me if there's a sinister side to Rangers' decisions. Not at all.
Totally, man.
No, and I'm quite dubious. I don't think they would have chosen to play a derby match away for Ibrox. I really don't. I think they knew this was coming. I think they knew this was coming, Boycie, and they knew the first game was going to be at Celtic Park because it's 2 in a row, and then you move on after that. So they knew that it was going to be Celtic Park. You know what I mean? Because you always get the last game of the season you get the home game of the season. If it's Celtic Rangers, then the next season's Rangers first.
I get that. No, I get that. I get
And
that.
I think they've known the timing. I think they've knew early bells. This was going to take longer. This is a fuck up. They've knew, Boycie. And I don't think they would have took a chance. I don't think they would have ripped a seat out if they thought they would tail 50,000.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I think that's maybe fair.
You imagine telling your fans, imagine telling Willie Figovin that he's not getting to the derby match because he's going to play the Celtic part instead, or they have to go to Edinburgh. You'd go after that, Boycie.
Yeah, no, I get you, mate. No, I get you. It'll be interesting to see how long this goes on. As I always say, when there's bad news stories, they get released at certain times for certain reasons. That'll be the season ticket money has reached a certain number, and now they can go public with the fuck up. And I think, secondly, when you say a month with bad stories, very rarely, or however long it may be, very rarely, however long you say a bad news story is going to last for, is the actual truth. That's called the containing of it. As you're letting it out, as you're letting the cat out the bag, you contain how far the cat can run. Do you know what I mean? You let it run in a wee pen at first, and then maybe a bigger cage, then maybe out in the wild eventually, you know. And I think there'll be more to this, as you rightfully say, that we'll find out, and it'll all be extremely funny, no matter what. Right, that does it for the night. Judge, 2 nights in a row on the bus. You've smashed it, big man. Thank you very much. Oh, fireworks and everything. Oh, wait to see cheerio, mate. I love it. Listen, everyone have a brilliant night. Thanks so much. We're over 100 tonight watching live, and we know it's close season. We know there's not always the best talking points in the world to be getting through, but we always find a way. Stay. I was going to stay safe. Said the folks say that. Do what you fucking want.
Next time you check it, don't forget to think of the fun you can have in a supermarket sweep. Is that
next time you hear the beep.
Next time you hear the beep.
You can think of the fun you could be having on supermarket sweep, and that is how you keep your eyes on the board. See you there.